Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blaze podcast. Today, I have a very important and an eminent personality with me, Karina, the founder of Fractionals United. I've been a part of Fractionals United community for close to a year now, and I've been fascinated by how the community runs. And after a lot of schedules and reschedules, today finally we have Karina with us today. So, Karina, I want to start by understanding how the journey of Fractionals United started. Where did the idea stem from for you to bring this community together and most importantly manage it free for a very, very long time, which is not so easy on a Slack channel? And then it's a different story. But how did the idea come and why did you want to do this?
So I was doing fractional work for, I would say, over almost a decade before it was like officially called that, right? Or no one really remembers exactly when the term came about. But I've been doing fractional work for a long time, and as sometimes happens, I went full time with a client and then came back to fractional work. This was in the beginning of 2023. And when I came back, it was very different than 2 years prior to that, which was the last time I had looked for fractional work. Upwork was no longer viable for fractional work. It had gone way downhill. And as an introvert, I was like, okay, where are my people? I don't want to figure this out on my own because I had joined some really great online communities during COVID, and I knew the power of online communities. So I had this idea or this realization January 7th, 2023. It was a Saturday. I was talking to my husband, and I'm like, okay, I need to find my people. That evening, I started Googling mad, trying to find fractional communities. But I couldn't really find what I was looking for. Like, I found pseudo communities, right? I found communities that were someone's pipeline, or communities behind a paywall, but no community for the sake of community, which is what I was looking for. So I looked up at him and I'm like, is this the thing I do? I don't know. Let me see. He's like, I'm not cut out to just sit and look for work. It's like I need to feel like I'm doing something, I'm building something, I'm contributing. And I was going crazy. So I just put together a simple landing page, put together a simple free Slack, the MVP, put out the message on LinkedIn and some of my other communities just to even see if there was interest, right? I had no idea how people would react to it. By the end of that first weekend, I had over 50 people that were like, yes, please. And it kept going up. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. And, once I realized that I wasn't the only one looking for a community, because as you know, Fractional is this weird hybrid where we're part of the company, we're embedded, but we're not full-time. So we're not like the full-time employees and we're not like consultants who are, their own thing. So once I realized there were others like me looking for community, looking to connect, collaborate, and learn from each other, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And the reason I chose to do it for free for so long was because I knew that there were others like me struggling to find the work. So I didn't want there to be a buffer, right? Or I didn't want it to be something that people couldn't afford to get that help. And I tried really, really hard to keep it free, which had been my original intent. But unfortunately, it got to a point where I couldn't do this on my own. I had to have a team, and it's still a small team, facilitated by a lot of automation, but I have to pay them. And I have to pay the tool that automate and enable everything else. And I hadn't paid myself in 2 years. So it was just not sustainable after a while. So even though it's no longer free, it's still very affordable.
But one thing also I realized, Karina, I run a couple of communities and, I do a little bit of mentorship for startups and things like that. When you give away free, the value is not felt. People write on LinkedIn, people give articles on LinkedIn and things like that. But when I was looking at building my website, I wanted to keep some articles and things like that. I never kept anything free. $1, right? And that too not the US dollar, the Australian dollar, because my company is incorporated there. With $1, I don't get anything. But it's just that I wanted people to feel that, yes, I'm buying something, so I have to read this through or utilize the service the way it is supposed to be utilized, right? The seriousness will come only when you pay that ₹1. I read a fantastic book called Free. I forgot the author's name. And that opened up my mind a lot. There is nothing, I mean, even the air we breathe is not free. I mean, we think it is free, it is not, right? And the world goes into, we'll give you this free, we'll give you that free. But what I realized is there's nothing called free in this world. There's no free meal, right?
Yeah.
It has to be earned and it has to be monitored or whatever. The value should be derived for that $1 you spent or whatever it is. So I completely hear you. Running something free or something like is, I mean, it adds value to a certain extent, but after that people don't take it seriously. Right. So absolutely. I'm glad now we have more serious focused conversations on the group and things like that. But yes. And where are you seeing Front going? I mean, in your mind, where are you seeing it going in the next 5 to 10 years? I know it's a long time in today's world, but I strongly believe, Karina, the world is not going as fast as the technology claims it is going. Right? Today they're saying AI, tomorrow AGI, day after tomorrow something else. These are all marketing gimmicks, but nothing more. World has existed billions of years before. It'll exist for billions of years later as also. So nothing is going to change overnight. But that's the reason I've asked, what's in your mind for the next 5 to 10 years, how the community will evolve and how people can take away the value of being in the community?
So I am just focused on community first, right? Like there are some members who join for leads or are expecting to find work. I do hope that, in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be a lot easier to find fractional work because it'll be a lot more commonplace and understood. And there are others in the fractional space, including the Fractional Conference and the Fractional Leadership Alliance, working on that also. So I believe it will be easier to find the work, but Front is and always will be focused on community first. People indirectly find work by the connections they make, but that is not what we're about, right? We are about the connections, the community, the people, the relationships, and not everyone joining gets that. At some point, we still right now offer a 15-day free trial. At some point, that's probably going to go away. But, and we try to make it clear what we are or not, but people don't always read, people don't care, they are there for whatever they're there for. And those that are not there for true community leave, and I'm fine with that because that's not what we're about. Yes, there are 2 job channels, but that's secondary. Everything I do, everything I don't do, and as a channel leader, this, it's all focused on the connections, the connecting, collaborating, and learning from each other. The offering resources and events for members to help do that, right? It's all about people to people, the relationships. I hope I will be doing more panels, both member panel and expert panels, because I think that gives members a lot of value and it's really interesting. Like we had a great one recently on an expert panel on selling without the cringe that I think went really well. I'm working on one on next gen AI and no codes. So there's going to be really interesting panels. We're doing a guest speaker series, right? So there's different kinds of events and resources that I'm going to try to see what lands and what provides value or not. But it's always going to be about connecting, collaborating, and learning.
Perfect. Now, moving away from the community, I want to focus something for first-time viewers. This podcast is not for our community members. It is for the remaining part of the world. So, Karina, if somebody wants to become a fractional, what are the top 3 traits you feel a person should have to become fractional and to become successful?
So I think there are three parts. One is you have to have the expertise, right? Like the way we define fractional, it is a senior leadership role. And the reason it can't be fractional is you've got the experience. You've done this full time. You can be very efficient and strategic about it and work through your team. So you have to have the expertise. It's not a shortcut, right? You can't just add fractional to your title and be a C-level employee or consultant just because you're adding that to your title. You've had to have done the work to be able to do it well fractionally. So that's number one. And that takes time and expertise and experience. Second is you have to be willing to work for yourself and unfortunately do the networking and the business development and depending on your country, understand the legalese and incorporate and all of that, right? You have to invest in your own professional development and, structure and taxes and all of that. You have to be willing to do all of that. Sorry, my voice is going. You have to be willing to do all of that because it's not the same as working for someone else, right? And there are pros and cons, right? You can set your own hours and rates and time, but you have to do all that extra stuff that doesn't come if you're working for someone else. And the third is a little bit an extension of that, the mindset, right? You have to be ready to be able to juggle all the things and really give yourself time blocks and guidelines and guardrails because you're gonna have to live in a world where you are doing more than one thing forever, right? There's going to be hopefully more than one client and you're gonna have to learn how to juggle that and be effective and constrain, right? And you're going to have to leave time for professional development and for life and for, the pipeline and all of that. So it's a different mindset and it's a different lifestyle. And you have to be willing to do that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be harder to take time out for yourself. It's going to be harder to do all the things because you're always going to have more than one thing you have to juggle.
So these are the three things what you feel will become the key traits. So, and I agree with you, Karina. I've heard many people, I'm part of few communities in this part of the world, and everywhere the same question, right? How do I build a pipeline, or will this give me a lead gen, right? Nothing gives you lead gen. People don't understand that. It's just your networking and your this thing. That's when will come. So, I personally feel that anybody wants to become a fractional. Probably today you're becoming a fractional because you have your existing network. 2 years down the line, when you get busy with your work, your network is not going to be in touch with you. And so you have to allocate at least 2-3 hours a week to figure out a way to build your pipeline so that and you communicate and things like that, which can be a LinkedIn post or whatever it is, but you keep in touch with your network so that people know what you're doing and how you're doing, and whenever there is a situation arising, they can invite you to be on that. And next 5-10 years, I think I read it somewhere in HBR or some review, by 2035 the world is going to have more than 1 billion freelancers. Let's put ourselves also in Fractionals as part of freelancers. Right? So predominantly the work styles are going to change, the work cultures are going to change. Probably the large companies will continue to manage it, but the medium and small companies will change the way they operate things and just bring people. I need this product to be built. Okay, bring 3 people for 6 months and get it done and let them go. It becomes, very easier legally and also financially for organizations to get the best things out coming. Fantastic. So, Karina, in your experience, I know US is a much more matured market in terms of fractional acceptance, and over the last few months in this part of the world, I'm also hearing from people who have been fractionals saying that I'm really looking to go back into a mainstream job, right? And it's getting very difficult. I understand, even I've been through the journey, right? So in your perspective, why do you think the market has matured a lot more in America than the other parts of the world? I know a couple of reasons, right? Which is, I mean, America is fast evolving, they're the epicenter of technology, blah, 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 blah. These are all the common answers. But being on a full time and becoming fractional, for you personally, what have you seen different from US to other parts of the world where fractionals are accepted much more easily?
I honestly think it probably just started here, and that's why we're ahead. Honestly, I know that even though people think and say it is more mature here, and I guess to some degree it is, it's not where it needs to be, right?
Correct.
Like I said, it's still really difficult. Just to demonstrate this, I think it was maybe 9 months ago to a year. I had a conversation with a New York accelerator director, right? So we're talking about someone who, she runs an accelerator, so she should be in the startup world and tuned in, and it was an accelerator associated with NYU, which is like a pretty, it's not Ivy League, but it's a pretty predominant New York university.
Correct.
It's well regarded, and so it was an interview for a fractional, an interim fractional role, because it was a mat leave coverage. She didn't call it fractional; it was an interim whatever, right? But it was fractional. Actually, so it was a mat leave. It was a part-time mat leave coverage. The person I was covering was full-time, but the mat leave was part-time. That's what it was. So in talking, I labeled it fractional, and she didn't even know what it was.
Okay.
You know those like cartoon images where like the characters like brain explodes? That's what was going on in my head.
True.
Like an accelerator director did not understand what fractional was. I'm like, oh my God, right? It's like, she should be so tied into the startup world. And we're talking about New York, and she didn't know what it was. And this was like a year ago. We're not talking about 10 years ago. So it's like, we're not as far as people think, unfortunately. And I just think it's like I tell the community, like, we all have the power to help this along. Like, the more that we talk about it, the more, like, I created fractionaldefine.com because I got tired of just repeating myself, and anyone can like point people there and use it, right? The more we just educate, like, this is what I'm doing and this is what it means, and like, this is why it's a benefit, right? And just spread the word and awareness. It's it's like that uphill battle, but there will come an inflection point, right? I don't know when.
Correct. So, I mean, yeah, as you said, one of the reason is probably because you guys started it, but this part of the world, I do see challenges when you propose, because one thing is, if I look at India, the population is high and the number of specialists are too high. Everybody terms them. But to find the right kind of person, again, it goes more through the network and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes a time, it takes a while. But according to you, again, this is very personal to you in terms of your experience. I'm banking on your experience because this is what people want to hear. Actually, after this, Karina, I'm doing a series of podcasts with about 6-7 eminent personalities on something called the dark side of AI. And I want to tell people through the podcast that nothing is changing. It's a slow change, and how students and up to 10 years experience should embrace AI. So to bring out the hard truth, because if you open media today, everybody is like, you don't need jobs, you don't need people. It's all, I mean, people are interchanging AI and automation. So we're going to do that. But coming back, predominantly with your experience, Karina, as a fractional, if I want to start my journey, or if I've just begun my journey, how should I categorize my day? When I say a day, I'm just bringing it down to a day level, but I can look at it as a month.
Yeah.
In terms of how do I find my leads? Do I allocate the time for my work, building discipline within oneself? Any tools which you recommend people can use? And how do I structure my offering so that it becomes lucrative and easily understood. You can take your own personal example or something. So this question is for viewers or listeners to the podcast who are wanting to jump into the fractional world but are stuck not knowing how they want to do.
So, as you said, you definitely need to leave time to network or biz dev, even when you're busy, and definitely in the beginning. I would say, like, this is a long, it's a race. No, what's the cliche that it's you don't want to burn out, right? So you want to pace yourself, right? So figure out a way you can do this that is sustainable. Even if it's a half an hour a day, or like you said, 2 to 3 hours a week spread out. Try to find a way to network or biz dev that isn't draining, because this is something you're going to have to do long term. So, some of it can be online if you're an introvert, right? It doesn't all have to be in person. Find a way to build that into your either day to day or week to week, right? And maintain that. It can increase or decrease, but there has to be a minimum level that you maintain. Once you have clients, and even though you're a fractional, doesn't mean that all your work has to be fractional. Like, I'm a workflow consultant, right? You can do project work and fractional work. You can do more than one thing. You can be advisor. You can do different things, right? That's part of the advantage of being fractional, is we don't have to be one thing. We can do different things in our life. And there are times we will take on projects that are meant to be short term and just to pay the bills, and that's fine. So everything needs to be time blocked. I am a huge proponent of time blocking. And if you use a tool like SavvyCal, which is a competitor to Calendly, you can even sync up links to your time blocks. So I literally have on my calendar, I have a time block for meetings, I have a time block for focus work, and I have a time block for work. And I have, the focus block, nothing, overwrites that. No one can meet during that. That's when I do like deep thinking and deep work. Work is for my clients, and I have, each of them gets their own link, which corresponds with that. And the meeting is like this time, right? Like when I'm open to like meeting with members or doing like other things, and that's that link. So it makes it very easy. And then unlike most scheduling tools, I don't have to put in a time. I can literally, if I adjust the time block on my calendar, it'll automatically sync. So if I need to move it one day because for whatever reason, it'll automatically sync up, and people will only see what is available there. So I am 100% like, time blocking is so important. It's funny, I won't name names, but somebody I work with, he's constantly, even just last night, he's like, if you would do a class on like saying no and boundaries, I would take it, because like I'm very like, as you know, like I am like, this is when I'm available, this is, and I don't do it to be mean, but like part of like, I know what my schedule is like, it's atypical because I'm a night owl, but you have to respect. And that's the other thing, it's like, I am such a night owl, I'm not a morning person. When I was in corporate, I was like those people. I'm like not in the office at 7 a.m, but like I remember having to take a call at 7 a.m. and I was like, it was miserable. Now I don't take calls before noon. I work with my own, my own clock, right? And that is what you can do as a fractional. You can figure out when you work best and how you want to work best. And obviously you need to, when I have clients that insist on more, earlier, like I have done calls at 11 or whatever, but you align expectations upfront with your clients, right? And you explain to them when you're available and you sync it up. It's all about communicating. That's like, I would say, like, you cannot over communicate, right? And especially up front, you set expectations. But use time blocking, communicate, set expectations, and always make sure you have blocks for each of the things that you need to do, not only to do the job well, but to maintain your business and also professional development, right? Like, you have to build in continuous learning, because if you don't, no one's going to pay you to learn, and you're going to become obsolete.
Correct.
So all of those are important. The one other thing I will say is do not charge hourly. Like that is a mistake. Like we are experts. A lot of what we are being paid is to connect the dots and think. It's like name one fractional who turns off their mind after hours, right? It's like constantly thinking about things. We're constantly connecting the dots, you know? So it's like we are being paid for our deep expertise and knowledge and strategic, you know, skills. So it's about the results. You know, like as a fractional COO, I have time blocks because I run the company, right? So it is a little different from function to function. So for me, I have to have time blocks and I tell them like I'm available for X amount, up to X amount of hours because I'm managing the team, I'm doing one-on-ones, I'm running the business. So mine has an hourly component just because of that, but it's up to that, right? It's not necessarily that I am there that entire time. I am available up to that many hours because it's not about hourly. It is not about hourly. And, you know, it's not project work. We are not individual contributors. We are embedded senior leaders.
My follow-up to this, Karina, is a little controversial. I mean, if people like that are going to listen, I can't help it. Karina, these days, there are a lot of people who are like, you know, the moment you put Fractional on your LinkedIn, there are a lot of outreach messages which you are getting. And there was a conversation in one of the chapters, you know, monthly meet, where somebody asked, this company has reached out, they're charging $3,000 a month or something, and they will not help you generate leads, but they will coach you to get leads. And before itself, they're saying, be ready to invest some money because this is not going to be overnight. It's going to take 6 months to 1 year. So their business model is taken care, whereas many fractionals who really don't know may fall into that category. I mean, I'm sure you and I will never sign up for that kind of stuff, but there'll be few people I really don't know, and they might fall into the trap. So hopefully, even if we are touching one person like that through this podcast, demystifying all the thoughts, I'm more happy. I think the time spent, your 1 hour and my 1 hour is much more value. Karina, what do you tell, or what can we guide people who are wanting to become fractionals, how to start?
Yeah. So I think there are 3 categories of service providers, or whatever you want to call them, that are targeting fractionals. There are the lead gen, right? Like the pure like lead gen, let us like do all the LinkedIn outreach and lead gen for you. Most of those I ignore. Usually like I will be like, so what is your model? Just to like, I don't know, just curious. And most of them, unless they guarantee results, you know, and only take a small percent, like either take a tiny percentage or it's a very low rate where you can cancel, I wouldn't even bother. And it's like none of them will guarantee, which says something in itself, right? Like most of the ones I've talked to, none of them guarantee, or as soon as I say that, they disengage. So that should tell you something. There was somebody in the very early days of the community that was a partner that was trying that, and I signed up for, and it's really hard. It's really hard. I don't know that anyone, I can't say that no one does this successfully, but I would like ask a lot of questions and make sure there are some guarantees before even engaging. And there are a lot of bad players in that space. The second I would call sales coaches. There are a lot of like sales gurus, sales coaches that are targeting fractionals that have different masterminds or cohorts. There are some that are partners of the community, Brian McDonald, that are legitimate, but I think their target are more people who have some clients and just need help scaling, right? So they're not cheap, but they're not, you know, they provide value, but you need to be able to afford them. They're not for newbies, right? You have some money, you have some clients, you just don't know how to get more. right, while you're doing work. And they will help you figure out your messaging and your targeting and how to do that. So that's why I call them more like sales coaches, right? And then there are the programs for the newbies, right?
Okay.
There's Voyager U, there is, Henning has one, I forget what it's called, Be Fractional or something Fractional. There is a new one coming out from Lemonade. There's a bunch. There is a bunch. Some of them occasionally partner with us. And there are legitimate ones. There are definitely legitimate ones. Like all the ones I named are legitimate. There are various price points. What they help is they will help one of different things. They will help you think about fractional, like the things I told you about, right? Because there are people coming out of corporate that don't even know what they're getting themselves into. Right? They don't even know how to think about it. They've never worked for themselves. They don't know what that means. It helps them think about it. It helps them start to structure how to talk about it, how to do lead gen, how to even like tap into their network. Because a lot of these people may have a network, but they've never tapped into it, right? Because again, when you're like full time, you don't think about this. Like you just like you do your work and you live your life and you're done, right? If you're high level, maybe you network for your company, but it's, you know, or it's different, right? It's very different. And there are legitimate ones, but you have to ask the questions. And to your original point, so far there aren't, like most of them aren't cheap. So you need to be able to afford it and know what it's getting you. None of them are shortcuts. There is there is no budget solution, unfortunately. And like, I want to be fair. Like the Voyager U and the others are legitimate, but they are not cheap and they are not shortcuts. So you have to decide if, if you can invest the time and money and afford them. If you can't, then you should join Fractionals United or some community and learn from just surrounding yourself by people who do this and the resources available, But even that is not a shortcut. There is no shortcut.
No, I mean, I know the Slack gets buzzing predominantly each working day. So what I do is I allocate about half an hour each day for my Slack channels. I'm part of few Slack channels. And 99% of that is more information rather than interaction. But till now the half an hour is enough, right? For me in a day. If it's a really buzzing day, then probably in the evening before I wind up, I might just check. But otherwise, half an hour to 45 minutes a day will help me get through all my messages. And I'm somebody who don't keep my phone on ring mode also. Both my phones are always in vibration mode. Yeah, and I don't check WhatsApp regularly. I don't check email regularly. I have time slots for it, and I check only during that time. Unless, because now I'm fractional / I run my own product and things like that. So only if a client is calling, then I pause and pick. So you don't want to make the client wait. But do you have any thoughts of launching anything for newbie fractionals through the Fractionals United? Some refresher kind of courses or anything?
So we did a new to fractional member panel in the early days, and that is available with other related things. I'm not looking to do education because there's enough partners of ours who do education. We are going to have an expert program. This isn't even like official yet, so this is a sneak peek.
Ideation.
So some of our partners, we're going to offer them kind of like, because now we're in a paid Slack, so we can do that, where there will be for instance, an expert sales channel and an expert marketing channel, for instance. We're 2 to 4, like we're gonna beta test this with one expert. I won't name names because it's not final yet. But it's going to be more like of an ongoing relationship where they're in the newsletter. There's going to be an expert tip. There's going to be expert panels. There's going to be a channel so members can ask and engage with them. Obviously, they're not going to give away everything. Like if you want to then hire them or engage in their programs or whatever for more, but there will be an expert program and a way for members to get more ongoing advice and expert tips. And by being a partner, we're saying, like we vetted them, if you need sales help, these are partners you can look into or, consider engaging with outside of Front for whatever their program is. But it's also going to be a low-level way for more, targeted expert advice on an ongoing basis. Like, I'm not interested, like, there are so many people doing education and conference and everything else. Again, like, I'm just looking for ways to add value to members that doesn't replicate what already exists. So
Okay.
we already have partners and sponsors. So to me, this is a way of elevating those that I really think provide value and offering, yes, it's a subscription model for the community. So it's some, more consistent revenue that allows me to do more for the community, but also provides ongoing value for the community.
Excellent. So Karina, I think I touched upon everything I want to touch. I'm sure I will redo a podcast with you going more details, but this one I wanted to focus because there's one thing I've seen in this part of the world, India and Asia Pacific, is the many people who want to jump onto the bandwagon, but they don't know what it is. And second thing is even organizations, they don't understand fractional or consultant.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things what we discussed in the channel for quite some time. How do you differentiate between a consultant and a fractional and things like that? This podcast, that's why I said 60 minutes is good, because I wanted to focus on the basics and give a sneak peek into the life of a fractional journey and how committed it is. Before I wind up, what do you see the trend, or how do you see the trend in the future? How this will evolve based on your experience, talking to a lot of people, the community and everything. How do you see this evolving over a period of time?
So I do think fractional is the way of the future, especially with AI too, right?
Correct.
AI is not going to replace all of us. It's going to replace lower level thinking and lower level tasks, but you're still going to need people with expertise supervising and managing and connecting the dots. And that's what we're good at. So I really think that more and more companies are going to have to look to, like, fractional is like an SMB superpower, right? Like they can't afford us full time, but we are the difference. We are the multiplier for them. And so once more companies realize what we are or that we exist and what we can do for them, I think, again, there will be that inflection point. And I think that one day fractional will be the default for, most companies below a certain size.
I'm thinking in the next 10 years, a $1 billion company will have less than 3 to 4 full-time employees. Today, $1 billion will at least have minimum 3 to 5,000 employees. I'm saying least to least, right? You can't be $1 billion, but there are also companies who are doing over 500 million revenue with about 100 people. So the per value is very high. But what I'm thinking is the future will be where a $1 billion unicorn will have less than 5 full-time employees, which can be their CEO or a CPO or HR functions become very important because you need to manage non-employees, HR and the sales and marketing. That's it. 5 people running the whole company with fractionals or consultants, whatever they want to bring in the model. And that's how I see it evolving over the next 5 to 10 years. At least that's what I'm guessing to understand, but I'm not surprised if it doesn't go there in the next 5 to 10 years. Because as I said, people talk as if the world started yesterday and it is going to end tomorrow, right? Everything has to happen today. It existed $1 billion years before, it will exist for $1 billion years later. So that's where I was coming from. So Karina, thank you so much for the time. I want to keep it short and sweet because I wanted it to reach more people. Number one, my other podcast will run long because I get into subject matter expertise into deeper sections. But I want this to be short and sweet. And for anybody who's wanting to become a fractional, how should they look at it, and what is it they should focus on, and what is it going to look like the next 5 to 10 years or 15 years for them? So thank you so much, and thank you for building the community. I love being there. It's like travel to more than 50 countries every month.
Wow. Yeah.
Not physically, because of the community meetings which happen,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, this is a podcast. I don't want to share certain insights, what I hear from people. And then I feel, God, I'm blessed to be here, right? In the place I am, either in the group, in the community, in India or Australia, anywhere. When I listen to some stories, right? You don't need to be there in person to know what the situation is. So in summary, without getting on a flight, I travel 50 countries minimum on a not a great day. If it's a great day, I travel more countries, right? When more people join, and I hear a lot of conversations, how people think, how businesses think, how people ideate, how people put across things, how people struggled starting their journey as a fractional or their entrepreneurship journey, whatever it is. That is invaluable for me personally. So I'll continue to be part of the group, keep irritating all the other guys and you at all the time. So, but thank you so much, Karina. I know you have a meeting in another 10 minutes, but thank you so much, and look forward for more conversations.
Likewise, and thank you for everything you do.
Anytime. Thank you, Karina. Bye-bye.